I think I have a plan. I am not at all thrilled about it, but let me just tell you this. Long story short, this quarter panel is not from the same manufacturer as that quarter panel. I won't get into the details about why that is the case. I will tell you that I would have expected this one to be higher quality than that one. This is OER. That one is made by Jegs, which means it's probably white labeled. Somebody else makes it. Jegs sells it under their name. Maybe they make it. I don't know. Unexpectedly, that one fits quite well. This one does not. And the issues don't end at the fitment against the tail panel. The quarter fits about, I don't know, probably a 1/4 inch long relative to the tail panel. And while that could potentially be massaged and might even be the result of a bent tail panel, when I pull the trunk lid down, the end of the trunk lid is shy of the quarter panel by a 1/4 inch as well. And that's what the trunk lid pulled as far back as it'll go. So I'm in this world now where things just don't quite work, and it seems to be the quarter panel's fault, which means fixing it probably involves some relief cuts and pie cuts and things that frankly are well beyond my pay grade. Okay, that's problem number one. Problem number two, this door gap is not awesome. Now, it's not terrible either, but it's far from awesome. The gap's a little bit big. Oh, you start doing the math. Well, maybe the whole quarter panel can slide forward. Maybe. There are a handful of problems with that. It's a possibility, but it introduces now a potential for misalignment against the wheel housing. And the face of the door jamb right here is already pulled away from the support that is right behind the door jamb. So pulling it forward isn't necessarily ideal. The problem is at the top of the quarter near the tail panel. The bottom of the quarter at the tail panel matches up just fine. So shifting the thing doesn't quite solve the problem. Add to it this complication. If I line up this contour in the door, this bend, then the contour at the bottom of the door doesn't line up. Once again, how do you solve that? It involves creating some cuts, shifting things around, and who knows if I can even pull that off. I don't know, but it's a butt ton of work for sure. Finally, and this one is terribly difficult to capture on camera. You about have to be here to get it. If you compare this contour right here at the corner to this contour right here at this corner, they are not quite the same. Now, they're not drastically different, but they're not quite the same. So all of that leads me to this conclusion. I need to pick up another quarter panel. And I need to pick up the Jegs panel for the driver's side the way it is on the passenger side. That way things will match. Theoretically, the alignment problems will all be solved with this new quarter panel because they worked out just fine on the passenger side. So that's a little bit of a fingers crossed, but when you do the measurements, make the comparison, the passenger side quarter panel just fits that much better than the driver's side. Here's the really sad thing about that. The quarter panel itself isn't that expensive. It's about a $200 part. The problem is, to get it here is about another $200 in shipping. Psychologically, that's a little bit tough to swallow. However, yeah, I gotta do it right. In an effort to build the car with no regrets, I'm gonna pick up a whole new quarter panel, take that one off, and start over. Now the good news is that quarter panel is not welded on. It just has sheet metal screws holding it in place. The substructure with the wheel housing is all fine. That can be left. I don't need to make any adjustments there. I'm probably 2 weeks out to have a new quarter panel. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for shipping on this other quarter panel, I'm going to start by pulling this section off. It has 2 mount points. It's spot welded through here, as well as right along the rain gutter on the trunk. So I think the best way to tackle that is, much like the quarter panel, slice it open where I can see the inside and then start separating the spot welds one at a time. Maybe one little hole is all it takes to gain access with the scissors, because I like the scissors. I like the scissors even better than the plasma cutter. They're just slick. Major bummer. That quarter panel that I was hoping to have in about 2 weeks will now likely be at least 3 months. The shipping date just got updated. I say at least because when this kind of thing happens and an item gets back ordered, you just never know how many times it's going to get pushed out. In the meantime, I think I can continue along with some of the other major things that need to be repaired. The trunk floor needs to be torn out and replaced, and I'm confident that I can do that without any trouble. And I think I can actually do the tail panel as well. Oh, because it's all Bondo right here. I couldn't get the plasma cutter to work in that area because it's all Bondo. Yummy. Well, that's really not bad. Here's what's interesting. I haven't put the trunk lid back on it to see how things align, but now the OER panel lines up almost perfectly with the rear tail panel. And this one is actually a little bit short of the outer surface to be flush. There's more to the puzzle. Like I need to get the trunk lid on it and see how that fits together and a few other things. But by and large, the thing fits on there really well. So I'm happy with it. I need to do a little bit of thinking over here. Once I figure out exactly where all this is going, this will come back off. I'll do a little prep on that metal. It's more of a rust abatement technique, and then zip it all together. And maybe someday I'll actually get a replacement quarter panel.